America, the once great nation, I say once for a very important reason. We have been taught in our classrooms to believe that America is the greatest nation that has ever lived. It all started with the exploits, the endeavors, the accomplishments of the men before us. Roger Williams, the introduction of freedom of religion. George Washington, the belief that the government is not solely of power, but rather the power of the people is what is most important. He effectively turned down a second term and also stomped down on a political coup that could have rewritten history as we know it. He could have been a king in the United States. Benjamin Franklin, one of the greatest diplomats that has ever lived, he signed three of America's most important documents: the Declaration of Independence, the Treaty of Paris, and the other Treaty of Paris. Thomas Jefferson, with the belief that all men are born with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Because it's not property that's what's important, Mr. Locke, but rather the ability to pursue what we want. After that, Mr. Abraham Lincoln, with the belief that no man is greater than another solely because he is born a certain way, but rather every man should be given this equal opportunity to achieve greatness. No man is subordinate to another solely because they're born a specific way. That, Mr. Ford introducing the idea of the production line and the idea that workers should be treated with more respect. And what happened? Increased output, a new era of productivity for the United States. Mr. Teddy Roosevelt teaching us that the environment is equally important to the United States. If there is no nature to preserve now, there will be no nature to enjoy later. Mr. Franklin Delano Roosevelt teaching us that booze ain't all that bad, that maybe we have to learn to limit ourselves. And furthermore, he helped to lead a nation in its one of the greatest economic disasters, and furthermore, one of the greatest military and political uh, events in the history of the world. Mr. Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong teaching us that man is not limited to the skies, but rather we are unlimited as long as our will permits it. Mr. Lyndon Baines Johnson leading a nation after a disastrous tragedy, and also teaching us that the butter is equal to the bayonet, and maybe the home front should be the one tackled. His war on poverty helped to rewrite an American history. Mr. Jobs and Mr. Gates extending the boundaries of human interaction, teaching us that we are not limited to the physical world, but rather we have the ability to create new ones. The virtual world is our domain, and it is also the Wild West of humanity as we know it. And I'm afraid to say that that list stops there. That past that point, our greatness has ceased. America has stopped being the great power. We are focused on our past glories instead of building for a future. Our textbooks teach us about what happened before, and we are taught to enjoy what we have. No longer is a man taught to produce the way we once did. Because what got us here wasn't the white collar that dominates the job market nowadays, but rather it's the blue collar. The will of the man to push himself to the limit every day by not playing the system, but rather living for the people, living for families, living for communities, and for the nation. Now, now we find so much paperwork, no more nuts and screws, no more screwdrivers. Blue collar is what got us here. Maybe many people might not agree with what I'm saying, but maybe it isn't smart to invest in solely our white collar. When was the last time you saw a Made in America label on anything? When was the last time you were able to just get something that said Made in the United States? We don't do that anymore, and that is our downfall. It is an unfortunate reality that our greatness is declining because so much is invested in the white collar rather than the blue collar. The people that play the system rather than play by the rules. That's all the thoughts I have for the day.